Can one person pour a concrete slab on their own? In this video, I will share my experience doing a concrete slab for my back garden all by myself. I will share with you every step that I made, the cost, and also the lessons that I've learned and the mistakes that I've done in the process. Doing this on my own has saved me about £500. It took about 2 hours of work, and I would say it was like moderate difficulty. If you have basic skills in DIY, you might be able to do it yourself. The first step is to decide where you want the slab to be. You can use lines to make boundaries for the area that you need it to be, and then you can start making a form. The form is made out of wood. Depending on the thickness of the slab, you can determine what type of wood you use. I'm using 2x4 here because I wanted my slab to be around 4 inches. If you need it to be thicker, you can either dig deeper into the ground or you can use wider pieces of wood. The form is just basic. You can attach it with screws. The important thing is to use pegs all around it, because you don't want, once you pour the concrete, that this form would fall apart. So it's very important to use pegs around the wooden frame that you made. This is me waiting for the concrete truck to arrive. I was trying to get the truck to pour concrete directly into the slab instead of using wheelbarrows to go around and pour the concrete. That would have been a much longer and more labor-intensive process. I had to break part of my fence, which I later repaired. As the concrete was being mixed, I wasn't really sure what to expect. As you can see, in the middle of the form, I've put some metal mesh that I had lying around in the garden. These I used to reinforce the concrete. The area that I wanted to have the slab on already had some gravel on it, so I didn't need to do a lot of ground preparation. But what I've done preparing the ground is that I removed everything that had any plantation or anything organic that can raise or decompose and cause weakness in my slab. I've found there are some gaps between my form and the ground, so I pushed around these gravel to make sure that there wasn't any gaps there. Now, as you can see, the concrete started pouring, and I certainly underestimated the amount of work that will be needed to move this around. It was about 3 to 4 tons of concrete. It wasn't impossible, but I was very breathless during the process, and the concrete kept pouring at a much faster rate than I expected. I would have imagined the truck guy would have had a look and made sure that I wasn't struggling, but he just poured the concrete and I had to just keep up with the speed. So here's me just pushing it around, trying to get it away from the area where it's being poured. Obviously, if you had better access and you were able to move this nozzle around, you could pour on the other side. However, I had a very narrow area where this concrete was being poured. I haven't got any specialized tools for the concrete, unfortunately, which I will later explain why this was a bad decision. So in this clip, you can see me using a garden fork, which is a bad idea to use with concrete, which I later realized, because you can kind of move the solid parts of the concrete apart from the cream. At this point, I started to struggle because the concrete was being poured at a faster rate than I was able to move it around, and it was starting to spill from the sides. The driver wasn't really interested in looking at where the concrete was. He just wanted to get it all done and leave. As you can see, I'm trying and doing my best to kind of move it around and pulling it to the back. I obviously ordered a little bit more concrete than I needed, and I wasn't going to be able to tell how much would be enough, but the driver was very good at assessing how much I would need, and as soon as he felt that this was enough, he left. And later on I realized that it was the perfect amount. My plan was to use this piece of wood is just long enough to go across and to move it around and get the concrete to be level with my form. This was going okay for the part that I had good access to, but towards the end of the form I really struggled because I didn't have enough space in the back to be able to move it comfortably. At this point I realized that I should have hired a booth load from my local DIY shop. This would have made the process a lot easier and would have had a lot smoother finish. However, I had to carry on and do this as I originally planned because I had no time to go and buy anything or hire anything at that point. There was a part where I hammered around the form to make sure there's enough vibration around that form to make sure the air bubbles are all coming out. This I haven't filmed and I maybe need to do a bit more of. However, I've done the best that I could just on my own. I was focused on making the area level, not necessarily very smooth, because I was going to have a shed lying on top of that. So the end product was a very solid concrete slab. I left it 2 weeks to cure, and after that it was very, very solid and it held the shed very well. So seeing this video and looking at what I've done, you might reconsider doing it on your own. I would say it purely depends on the purpose of the slab. If you want to get a perfect finish, you want it very smooth, so it's going to be used for walking around, or if it's a drive and you want it to look perfect, then definitely get an extra pair of hands and hire any tools that might make it easier for you, like a booth load, or the other option is to get somebody to do it for you. If the slab is only as a structural thing where you're just going to use maybe for laying a shed or for something that's you're not going to be too bothered by the fine details, then you can do it yourself. The whole thing cost me about £300, and all the coats I've got was close to 1,000. So I did save quite a bit of money doing it on my own. However, as you can see, the outcome, it doesn't look perfect. However, I'm quite happy with it, and maybe I'll share with you in other videos my shed and how it turned out. Feel free to like or subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.